Welcome back for more examples on reversing de Moivre's theorem to find the roots of a complex number. So in this case, our complex number, I'm going to label it z, is equal to 27 times cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus I times sine of 11 pi over 6. So the one that I did in my first video was a little bit easier, a little bit less complicated, because it was just 1 times cosine of 0 plus I times sine of 0. Now, first thing we want to do whenever I start these problems is you want to identify what r is, what theta is, and what n is. So, r is whatever is right in front here. So in this case, r is 27. Alright? And then theta comes from whatever is in here, so theta is 11 pi over 6. And then n is however many roots you're trying to find. So since you're trying to find the cube roots, n is equal to 3. And then a quick refresher in case you do not have it written down somewhere, I'm going to write it over here. I call them v are your roots. So v sub k is equal to the nth root of r times cosine of theta plus 2 pi k all over n plus I sine of theta plus 2 pi k all over n. Alright? And then it's just plugging things in. And these go from v sub 0, v sub 1, dot, 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 to v sub n minus 1. So in this case, we need to find v sub 0, v sub 1, and v sub 2. And these are the roots, cube roots of z. So, first thing we should do, plug it in. So, in this case, we are going to be taking, I'm going to plug it in with just k being k, alright, and then we could just plug and chug from there. So v sub k, in this case, I don't like black, we're going to go a different color, something more fun. Let's go with blue. So v sub k is going to be equal to the cube root of 27 times cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times k all over 3 plus I times sine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times k all over 3. So now all that we have to do is just plug and chug with different values of k. K is going to be equal to 0, k is going to be equal to 1, and k is going to be equal to 2. So when k is equal to 0 as your starting one, v sub 0 is equal to the cube root of 27 times cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 0 over 3 plus I times 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 0 over 3. Now, cube root of 27 is equal to 3. And then simplifying inside of these parentheses, 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 0 is just 11 pi over 6. So we can write this as 11 pi over 6, and then divided by 3 is the same thing as times 1/3. Okay? So, that is what goes inside my parentheses. And then plus, oh wait, hang on, this is going to bother me. That bracket would be outside here. plus I times sine of the same thing, because the parentheses should always match. And then this is equal to 3 times cosine of 11 pi over 6 times 1/3 is just 11 pi over 18 plus I times sine of 11 pi over 18. And that's your first root. Your second root, when k is equal to 1, v sub 1, plugging into our formula, is going to be equal to the cube root of 27 times cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 1 all over 3 plus I times sine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 1 all over 3. Same thing, we've got to do some simplification inside of our parentheses. The cube root of 27 is still 3. Nothing changed there. And then the cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi. So 2 pi, remember to add these, we need to have a common denominator. So if we make that a common denominator of 6, that's 12 pi over 6. So 12 pi over 6 plus 11 pi over 6 is equal to 23 pi over 6 times that 1/3 again, because of that 3 in the denominator, plus I times sine of the same thing, 23 pi over 6 times 1/3. Simplifying down inside the parentheses, 3 times cosine of 23 pi over 18 plus I sine of 23 pi over 18. And that is your second root. Third root, last one, when k is equal to 2, v sub 2 is equal to, first I want you guys to pause the video, give this one a try, see if you can work this one out, and then press play. Alright, cool. Hopefully you did that. Cube root of 27 times the cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 2 all over 3 plus I sine of 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi times 2 all over 3. I'm getting tired from writing this. It's a lot of work. This is equal to 3 times the cosine of, same thing, we have 4 pi here. So if we convert 4 pi so that it's over 6, that would be 24 pi over 6. 24 pi over 6 plus 11 pi over 6 is going to be 35 pi over 6 times 1/3. And if you guys want to skip this step of the times 1/3, if you're comfortable enough with that, totally fine, as long as you get to the right answer. Times 1/3. And then just simplifying a little bit more, 3 times cosine of 35 pi over 18 plus I sine of 35 pi over 18. So that is your third root. All right, so I will not be posting any more videos unless requested, just because these take a really long time to make, so if nobody's watching them, I have other things that I could do with my time, like grading you guys' homework and tests. So if you need another video, please email, please post in the discussion board. Otherwise, get started with the homework. I have the completed homework posted in yesterday's folder, and it has the examples worked out, so that should give you some help as well. Way to make it to the end of the year in pre-calc, guys. Just got a couple more days until we're on to summer.